It's just amazing. And this is like a spin-off. It's just unheard of. So that was on my mind at that point.
In the landscape of 1970s television, one show didn't just entertain. It broke down barriers and redefined the American dream for millions. It was a spin-off that became a phenomenon, a comedy that tackled class, race, and ambition with a sharp wit and an unforgettable swagger. For 11 seasons and 253 episodes, The Jeffersons wasn't just a sitcom, it was a cultural event, proving that a black family moving on up was a story everyone could celebrate. For a long time, it was the longest-running sitcom with a predominantly black cast, a title it held for decades before being surpassed by Tyler Perry's House of Pain. But the polished gleam of that deluxe apartment in the sky hid stories far more complex and, in some cases, heartbreaking than anything seen on screen. For decades, fans only saw the laughter. Now, the curtain is finally being pulled back. For 11 seasons, we watched them move on up to that deluxe apartment in the sky. We laughed with them, celebrated their success, and they became a part of our family. But what if the laughter was just one part of the story? For decades, fans only saw the polished final product. Today, the curtain is being pulled back. The cast of The Jeffersons is revealing the secrets they kept hidden behind the scenes. From personal struggles that were never meant to see the light of day to the disrespectful way the network abruptly canceled the iconic show without even telling them. This is the story of what most fans never figured out. Before George Jefferson ever slammed a door in Mr. Bentley's face, he was a concept brewing in the mind of a television visionary. Norman Lear, the architect of a new era of socially conscious comedy, had already changed the game with All in the Family. He introduced America to Archie Bunker, a lovable bigot whose abrasive views were a mirror to the nation's own prejudices. But Archie needed a foil, a character who could match his stubbornness and challenge his worldview from next door. That character was George Jefferson. Lear knew he needed a special kind of actor to bring this new, upwardly mobile black patriarch to life. He found him on Broadway in a musical called Pearly. Sherman Hemsley was electric on stage, possessing a unique, coiled energy. Lear was so convinced Hemsley was the man for the job that he held the role open for him for 2 years while Hemsley finished his theater commitments. It was a testament to Lear's foresight. When Hemsley finally stepped onto the set of All in the Family in 1973, he was an instant fan favorite. Though physically smaller than Carol O'Connor's Archie, Hemsley's George was, in Lear's words, every bit as strong. Paired with the formidable talent of Isabel Sanford as Louise Weezy Jefferson, the chemistry was undeniable. Sanford, a seasoned stage and film actress, had a long and arduous journey to stardom. She began performing in her teens, against her mother's wishes, sneaking out to sing in nightclubs and honing her craft at the American Negro Theater. For years, she supported her 3 children by working as a key punch operator by day, while chasing her acting dreams at night. Her big break came in the 1967 film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which led directly to Norman Lear casting her as Louise. Lear would later recall that Sanford wasn't even off the first page of her audition script before he knew she was perfect. The Jeffersons were so popular as the Bunker's neighbors that a spin-off was inevitable. On January 18, 1975, The Jeffersons premiered, and it was an immediate hit. The premise was simple but revolutionary. A black family, having found success through their chain of dry-cleaning stores, moves from a working-class neighborhood in Queens to a luxurious high-rise on Manhattan's affluent East Side. The iconic theme song, Movin' On Up, perfectly captured the show's aspirational spirit. What most fans never knew was that the song was co-written and performed by Jeanette Dubois, the actress best known as Willona Woods on another Norman Lear sitcom, Good Times. Dubois said the lyrics were inspired by her own personal dream of earning enough to give her mother a comfortable life. She poured her own experience and hopes into the track, creating an anthem of black upward mobility that resonated across the country. With a 35-person gospel choir backing her powerful vocals, the song became a cultural touchstone, forever associated with progress and achievement. The world of the Jeffersons was populated by a brilliant ensemble cast. There was the sharp-tongued and scene-stealing maid, Florence Johnston, played by Marla Gibbs. Florence's witty comebacks and refusal to be intimidated by George's bluster made her a fan favorite. Then there were the neighbors, Tom and Helen Willis, played by Franklin Cover and Roxy Roker. They were not just friends to the Jeffersons, they were television history, the first interracial married couple to be featured as series regulars, in prime time. And of course there was the unforgettable Mother Jefferson, played by the veteran actress Zara Cully, whose perfectly timed barbs and unwavering support for her Georgie added another layer of comedic gold. Behind the scenes, the set was known for its positive and collaborative atmosphere. The cast shared a genuine camaraderie that translated into on-screen magic. But even in this golden age of success, the seeds of future conflicts and untold stories were being sown. The laughter was real, but so were the struggles that the cameras never captured. While audiences saw confident, successful characters, the actors who played them were navigating their own complex realities that often stood in stark contrast to their on-screen personas. These hidden truths and personal battles shaped the show in ways most viewers never realized. Sherman Hemsley, the man behind the brash and loudmouthed George Jefferson, was in reality a shy, intensely private, and almost reclusive person. Before his acting career took off, he had served 4 years in the Air Force and then worked for the U.S. Postal Service to pay for acting classes. This humble background was a world away from the deluxe apartment in the sky. Hemsley found playing George to be a constant challenge. In a rare 2003 interview, he admitted, "All of it was hard because I don't like to be rude, but it was the character, and I had to be true to it." He channeled observations from his youth in South Philadelphia to build the character, including George's signature, cocky strut, a walk he and his friends used to practice as a form of armor and attitude. Hemsley was also a passionate music aficionado, with a surprising taste for progressive rock bands like Yes and Gentle Giant, a far cry from George's sensibilities. Franklin Cover, who played the affluent Tom Willis, also lived a life that defied his character's image. Despite playing a well-to-do New Yorker, Cover had a deeply humble personal life. For years, he commuted to the set by bus, a fact that often surprised his colleagues. His co-star, Roxy Roker, would frequently give him rides, a small, behind-the-scenes gesture of friendship that spoke volumes about their off-screen relationship. One of the show's most beloved elements was George's affectionate nickname for Louise, Weezy. It became so iconic that it's hard to imagine the show without it. But this famous term of endearment was never in the script. It was a spontaneous ad-lib by Sherman Hemsley, who borrowed it from a childhood nickname he had for a girl named Louise. The producers loved the authenticity of it, and Weezy became a permanent part of the Jefferson lexicon, a secret tidbit of Hemsley's own history embedded in the show. As the series progressed, creative tensions began to surface. A significant conflict arose over George's relationship with his neighbor, Tom Willis. Initially, George would frequently call Tom a honky, a racial slur that was part of his bigoted arsenal. However, as the seasons went on, George and Tom developed a genuine, albeit grudging, friendship. Sherman Hemsley felt that continuing to use the slur was no longer true to the character's growth. He argued with the writers, insisting that George wouldn't insult his friend that way. When the writers refused to remove the line, Hemsley began to deliberately mumble the word so badly during tapings that it was unintelligible. After several failed takes, the frustrated writers finally gave in and removed the insult from the script for good. The show also faced a profound real-life tragedy that it handled with remarkable grace. Zara Cully, the brilliant actress who played the feisty Mother Jefferson, passed away from lung cancer during the show's 4th season in February 1978. Cully was a trailblazer, landing her most famous role at age 82. During the 3rd season, she fell ill with severe pneumonia and missed 17 episodes. She returned for the 4th season, but her health declined again. Instead of quietly writing her character out, the producers made a courageous decision. They wrote Zara Cully's passing directly into the show months later, giving both the actress and the character a dignified and heartfelt farewell. It was a poignant tribute that blurred the line between fiction and reality, honoring a beloved member of their television family. As the Jeffersons soared in the ratings, network executives looked for ways to expand the universe. This led to one of the show's most significant and most forgotten missteps, a spin-off centered on Florence. In 1981, CBS launched Checking In. The premise saw Florence leave the Jeffersons to become the executive housekeeper at the St. Frederick Hotel. On paper, it seemed like a surefire hit. Marla Gibbs was a comedic powerhouse, and Florence was one of the most popular characters on TV. However, Marla Gibbs herself was skeptical. She had been approached about a spin-off years earlier but refused. This time the pressure was. Another mystery that has long puzzled fans is the curious absence of one key character, Archie Bunker. On All in the Family, the conflict between Archie and George was legendary. Yet, in 11 seasons of The Jeffersons, Archie Bunker never once appeared. He never stepped foot in that deluxe apartment. This was a deliberate creative choice. The producers wanted The Jeffersons to stand on its own 2 feet. They wanted to establish George's new world without relying on the crutch of its parent show. Bringing Archie into the mix would have shifted the focus back to the old conflicts. It was a subtle but firm declaration of independence, ensuring that The Jeffersons built its own legacy. The story of The Jeffersons is filled with these kinds of surprising twists that happened when the cameras stopped rolling. If you're enjoying this look behind the curtain, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss what's still to come, including the most shocking secret of all, the disrespectful way the show was brought to an end. By 1985, The Jeffersons was a television institution. It had been on the air for 11 seasons, a remarkable run by any standard. The cast wrapped up the 11th season, expecting to return for a 12th. They were wrong. What happened next stands as one of the most infamous cancellations in television history. CBS decided to pull the plug, but they didn't inform the creators, the producers, or, most shockingly, the cast. The stars of one of the network's longest-running hits were left to discover their fate in the most humiliating ways. Isabel Sanford, the matriarch of the show, found out from a relative who read about it in a tabloid. "My cousin in New York is the one that called me and said, 'I understand The Jeffersons has been canceled,'" she recalled. I said, "Who said so?" I hadn't heard. She said, "It's in the tabloids." Sherman Hemsley learned his career-defining role was over while reading the newspaper. Franklin Cover, who played Tom Willis, found out while watching Entertainment Tonight. Marla Gibbs also read about the cancellation in the paper. The cast was left reeling, not just from the shock, but from the utter lack of respect. Isabel Sanford was particularly vocal about her disappointment, stating they were never given a proper closing episode like other long-running shows. The final aired episode, Red Robins, was never intended to be the series finale. Fans were left with no resolution, no goodbye. George, Weezy, Florence, and the Willises simply vanished from the airwaves. This abrupt end was the culmination of what many perceived as years of disrespect. Throughout its run, The Jeffersons was moved to different time slots an astonishing 15 times, a practice that made it difficult for loyal fans to keep up. The deluxe apartment was shuttered, not with a bang, but with the deafening silence of a phone that never rang. The abrupt end of The Jeffersons sent its cast members out into a new world, forever linked to their iconic characters. Sherman Hemsley continued to work steadily, though he was largely typecast. His most notable post-Jeffersons role was as Deacon Ernest Fry in the sitcom Amen, which ran for 5 seasons. He and Isabel Sanford would occasionally reprise their roles as George and Weezy for guest appearances and popular commercials. Despite his public persona, Hemsley remained intensely private, never marrying or having children. He passed away. In 2012, at the age of 74, Isabel Sanford's career continued long after the show. In 1981, for her role as Weezy, she won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. This was a historic achievement. She was the first black woman to ever win in that category. It was a distinction she held for over 40 years until Quinta Brunson won in the same category in 2024 for Abbott Elementary. In 2004, Sanford received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She passed away later that year at the age of 86. Marla Gibbs soared to new heights almost immediately. The same year, The Jeffersons was cancelled. Her own sitcom, 227, premiered and became a massive hit for 5 seasons. Gibbs not only starred, but also co-produced and sang the theme song. She has continued to work tirelessly in Hollywood for decades. Roxy Roker, who played Helen Willis, continued to act in various guest roles. Her role as Helen was groundbreaking, and her real life was just as remarkable. Her own marriage was interracial, and she was a classically trained actress with a Tony nomination. She was also a dedicated children's rights activist. Roker is famously the mother of rock superstar Lenny Kravitz. She passed away from breast cancer in 1995 at the age of 66. Franklin Cover, the affable Tom Willis, continued his acting career with guest spots on shows like ER and Will and Grace. He passed away from pneumonia in 2006 at the age of 77. Mike Evans, the original Lionel Jefferson, had already left the show after the first season to co-create and write for Good Times. He later became a real estate investor and passed away from throat cancer in 2006 at 57. The Jeffersons was more than just a sitcom. It was a bold declaration. In an era of social change, it presented a vision of black success that was aspirational, complex, and unapologetically entertaining. It challenged stereotypes not with sermons, but with sharp, character-driven comedy. The show was a pioneer, bravely tackling issues of race and class. It even featured one of television's first sympathetic transgender characters in a 1977 episode that was decades ahead of its time. In the episode, George's old Navy buddy returns as a woman named Edie, and by the end, George, in his own way, learns a lesson in acceptance. While the depiction may seem dated by modern standards, it was a remarkable step for its time. But for all its on-screen triumphs, the behind-the-scenes story is a crucial part of its legacy. It's a story of actors who brought their own histories to their roles, of creative battles fought for the integrity of their characters, and of a cast that was denied a proper farewell. The contrast between the moving on up theme and the abrupt, disrespectful cancellation is a stark reminder of the harsh realities of the television industry. The laughter they generated was real, but the secrets they kept, the personal hardships, the creative fights, and the pain of being cast aside add a new, more profound layer to their story. What fans never figured out was that the biggest drama wasn't in the scripts. It was in the lives of the talented people who brought the Jeffersons to life, and in the bittersweet ending they never got to share with the world. What is your favorite memory of the Jeffersons? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you believe that classic television stories deserve to be told, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows that shaped our culture. Thanks for watching.